Hello, hello. Some surprise painting. Hello. Ross, what's going on? You know how these go. We're the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects it. Nobody. Put all these in here. Tim. Happy weekend. Hello. Everybody's doing well. Figured I'd paint some. I'm waiting on my mom to get in town. I figured I'd do some strimming. Do some strimming. I brought these guys back, and I completely spaced on the fact that we didn't do anything here. So I got to figure out what color all this would be. And I'm thinking I could do it red. But that's only because it's an afterthought. And I don't know what else it would be. It has this big, chunky outline to it, though, same as the skirt does. I have no idea what I want to do there. I think he's got too much metallic on him already, so I don't know that we want to do much more of that. I don't think we put the bright bronze on this guy, or the bronze on this guy, did we? Did we? Oh, yeah, I did, right? I remember doing this guy now. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I can see it. Hmm. I was setting up on streamer, setting up for wash, but I need to figure this area out. I could just do it in browns again, like the leather, but I got leather straps. Red makes sense. Hmm. Hmm. It also makes sense to do it in the same color as the skirt, but I can't do that here because I don't have the special sauce. So maybe we have to hold off on that guy and just straight work up on this guy. Then we can move to washes. So that's probably better. Let's do that. What's going on, everybody? Everyone else just finished shoveling out your cars? Is it going crazy where you're at? Is it all the snow? I was on a call earlier today with a buddy of mine who's out in the Maryland area. He said it was coming down hard. In Texas, you don't know what to do with all the white crap everywhere. Your truck is buried. Oh my God. You use the leaf blower, Chuck. 8 inches at the moment and still snowing. So shovel two might happen before bed. That's like the worst memories for me in Connecticut. Remembering to shovel snow when it would start snowing, like right before bed. You'd have to set an alarm to like try to get up in the middle of the night to shovel snow. And I never did. I was always like, nope, that's not going to happen. and so I'd just be completely snowed in. I'm really horrible with snow prep. Winter prep in general has never been my thing. No matter where I've lived and how important it was, I've always just space cased it. Welcome. I hope everybody's weekend is going as good as it can, given that it might be absolutely pouring snow where you're at. Dumping is the term, right? It's absolutely frigid here today. Jen and I have our warm winter clothes on. I think it's currently 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Paris, France, having nice weather, right, LaPlante? Right? Mela Ninja, we are painting some city states. Aristarch? Question mark? I think it's an Aristarch, right? And then we have the Polamark. We're just getting started. Got some base coats on them. Going pretty well. You have your furnace set so your house is at 65. Well, then you know what we're talking about. It's still really cold. You hope it's really cold at Adepticon just to get a taste of my own medicine. You act like I've never been anywhere cold, Big Bob. You act like I do not have not paid my dues. I have paid my dues, my friend. Well, I don't know if I paid my dues, but I've lived where it's very, very cold. So don't act like I don't know. I know. Some warm brown. Is this been opened? No. These are all new paints. Eventually we'll get through all 140, however many, 7 colors I have here. And we'll take all the tops off. That did not happen beforehand, so. Mechanic, it's going great. It is the middle of the afternoon. We are waiting on my mother to get here. My mom is driving in from Colorado. She's going to be visiting for 2 weeks. You might get to see Mom on stream. I'm trying to get Jen to bring Poppy and Mom. So we'll see how that goes. That could be a lot of fun. We'll see. Can you imagine a stream with Mama Fuse? I think that stuff's supposed to be bronze. Plumpy, what's going on? Can you glaze with an airbrush? 100% yes. 100% yes. You see me do it all the time on stream. Using the airbrush with very thin opacity paints is a great tool for both early and late stage glazes and filters. You don't have to just do it late in the game, though. And you can use it anytime you want. All right, I'm going to do all that. Bronze? Question mark? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here with this model. I think that the stuff here on the sword doesn't really have a scabbard. It's just weird. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. It's just weird. I don't know. But I do keep knocking brown off on every other thing except what I'm trying to paint. So I gotta be careful there. 10 more minis, 85 to go, says Plumpy. It's just bronze, dark bronze and bronze right now. It's legit just base coats. We're about to start doing some washes and things like that on it, you know. You know. Lots of metallic, lots of brightness, shiny. Special sauce, Dark Sea Ben for the cloth. Not a whole lot of effort in any of this right so far. So pretty good. All right, I need dark bronze again. Dark bronze again. That's bronze. That's magnesium. That's dark bronze. Illicit secrets. I like illicit. Can we just say that yes, it is now the illicit after hours stream? Spent a summer in Texas, 105 in the shade, and then a year later spent 3 months in northern Alberta from January -40. Most mornings are colder. Yeah, that'll get you. That shouldn't be wished on anybody. The whole northern Canada is spooky because just Canada is north. I should paint a sculpt of a bust of Mama J. No, no. Can make a character out of my mom. She's not here, so I'll say it's the crone. She's not here. You can't tell her that. Promise me, chat. Pinky swear. If she comes on stream, you won't say that to her. Jade bastards. Newfoundland. That's a kind of dog. Nobody lives there. It's not a thing. Newfoundland? Oh no, I did that gold. I didn't do that dark bronze. I did that gold. Rat bastage. Pay attention, Fuse. Do the right thing. Oh, I did do the sword of steel, though. Huh? No. Yeah, I did. No. Yes. Sneaky sword is sneaky. So I uncorked the wrong one, but I do have rich gold already uncorked. So we're lucky. Did I buy a card? No, Stan. No, we just went to have fun. Jen posted up on her Instagram. It's her new favorite thing. We were going to go today, but my mom was supposed to be in at 2:00. That didn't happen. She'll now be here at like 5 or 6. So I got some time to stream. And we were going to go again today. It was a lot of fun. When we first got there, right? I was like, I mean, I've been to a million auto shows and car and bike shows in my life, and they don't really intrigue me if I'm number one, not in the business. Of course, I'm not in the business. I don't know if you guys know it or not. I make paint and paint little dudes. So I am definitely not in the car business. So I didn't know like what the Barrett Jackson auto show was really all about. I mean, I knew about it. I'd watched the auction on TV times in the past, just like swinging through the channels, not ever really focused on it. So it's not like we didn't understand what it was. We hadn't been. So we get there, we walk around, look at a bunch of the cars. That was a lot of fun. You know, a lot of the cars that are going up for auction are sitting in their booths before their time comes up. So people can get a look at it, and you're letting potential buyers take a look at the cars beforehand. It's a big deal. And it was a lot of fun. So we went and actually bought bidder badges so that we could go on the bidding floor and sit. And, we joked around. We were like, oh, yeah, we should, bid on a car. I was joking with Jen. I said, we should raise our hand when it's at like $50,000 or $75,000 because we know we won't have to own it. But we never raised our hand. We were afraid like it might be like, and you win a car. We're like, no. We didn't mean it, But it was fun. It was fun. -30. Oh, you came back from New Zealand. Stephen, what's going on? It's Stephen Horvath. What's going on, Stephen? You came back from New Zealand to -30 in Minnesota. New Zealand was definitely better weather, I bet. I was very jealous of your trip, by the way. seeing the pictures of you having all that fun. I need to unfollow you so that I don't have to live vicariously through your travels around the world. But it was no, it would not have been the Monument Mobile. The only cars that were going through there that, of course, we're interested in are then like 1963 Corvettes and things like that, which you know not real plausible to own as a car. So we were not buying. We were not in the market to buy. But if you buy a bidder's ticket, you get to go on the floor where all of the fun is, and you're there. And they do it live on the History Channel. So the whole time we're there, there's cameras flying overhead, and you're getting caught up in the excitement. They did a Gullwing Mercedes that was a legit. It's classified as one of the top 10 of that car on the globe that exists still, and some ultra rich couple donated it to the show for charity. And so I think it went. I might be wrong on this. I thought it might have gone to like. Was it C? No, that one wasn't the CHP charity. I forget. Oh, it was like a diabetes kids diabetes charity or whatever. It went for like $2.3 million, and I thought that was low for that car. I thought it probably could have hit three, but it went to $2.3 million, and then not long after that, I think it was a McLaren or it was either a McLaren or one of the Ford GTs went for like 2.7, and that might have been the highest one. I don't know that any of them broke $3 million yesterday, but that's absurd, right? For cars, that's just absurd. There were cars on there that being that I have been in the custom car and motorcycle world, there were some cars on there that I know that today, if you just had unlimited funds, you could go buy the car for, I don't know, 50 grand. Some of these older cars, you buy it for 30 to 50 grand in whatever condition you could find it, and then pay 150 to 200 grand to get it custom done by somebody else and not worry about it. And in a year you'd have an amazing car, and those cars were going for like $700,000-800,000 on there. But then again, some of them weren't, so it was pretty crazy. Not gonna lie, it was insane and lots of fun to watch. So Jen has her new thing. She's very excited, so we'll probably be going annually to the Barrett Jackson show. She's got some friends that go to Vegas and to Barrett Jackson all over the place, but they do the actual auction for cars for both driving and for like turning around and using and selling and things like that. So it's kind of a neat hobby for them, but they don't do it at that level. They do it at like she bought I think she said it was like a 2009, 2010 Bentley convertible. And she bought it for like 40 grand at auction when it was like a 90 grand car, even used. She bought it for like $48,000 at auction. So they do that kind of stuff. That just takes a whole different level of understanding what the value of a car is. So when it comes through the auction line, you're like, oh, yeah, that one's worth bidding on. I wouldn't know. I pay attention to city states. I don't know anything about cars anymore. So next year you'll buy a car. No. I'm glad to hear the trip was good, Steve. How far is Scottsdale for me? Bear in mind you're UK based, so you can drive from one end of the country to the other in less than 24 hours. Oh, yeah. I was born in Texas, so 24 hours doesn't even get you across the state in some directions. It does, but that's what we like to say. Scottsdale's about 30 minutes from us, 30 minutes, depending on traffic. Not very far. We're basically downtown. So we're right central Phoenix, we call it. So we can get to any area of the valley. The valley's huge, but we can get to pretty much anywhere in 30 minutes. On the lookout for a 76 Chevy Malibu with the 350. Yeah, Barrett Jackson. Oh, Wirehead. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that if I could find a 65 Buick Riviera, I might have been tempted to jump on it, but those are cheaper cars than Barrett Jackson. Well, than Saturday Barrett Jackson. We went on a Saturday and learned very quickly that Saturday is the day for bajillionaires to be doing car stuff. If you go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, we would have gone today, but there were no Buicks. You can get the whole list. Like you can look at the whole docket. And there was like a Buick Riviera like on Wednesday that went through, and I don't want to know what it went for. I would maybe go for a 65 Buick Riviera if it was all done and I didn't have to spend any time on it. That's like one of my fave cars. I had a 52 Buick Special that was a great car, but we kind of redid all the custom stuff to make it look like a 51 Merc. Zilfer, what's going on? Battle Brother Biggest, what's going on? Good evening from the UK. Good evening from Arizona, sir. First time in almost a year you've painted a mini. Awesome. You got a custodian whose TMM is nowhere near as good as mine. Well, we've just done base coats, but you can do this. This is all easy. What are you talking about? Well, awesome, and thank you for getting back into the hobby. Isn't it a great thing? Going away and coming back is sometimes the catalyst you need to really keep you focused on what's good about the hobby, right? Sometimes you get in it because you're playing a game and you'll play the game a lot, and then you either your friend group stops playing or the store you went to stops playing, and it kind of is an exit that's kind of like self-induced exile, or you're not really wanting to stop the hobby. It's just it doesn't become important because your group that played or your reason for playing changed. But then when you come back, hopefully you can have it looking, more like, yeah, this is something I intend to focus on and, enjoy doing longer term. And I don't have to worry about, whether or not anybody's playing the game I'm painting. Like, I don't care if anybody around me likes Conquest right now. I'm just painting cool models. All right. So I think we got the base coats where we want them. Now let's figure out some wash to do on all the metallics is my next step. And I know I want to start with, well, I say I want to start with, I want to start with Payne's Gray on all the silver, I think. I wonder if it's probably better to do the bronze wash first, because if any of it gets on the silver, then the Payne's Gray will be the last that we do. The sword wants Payne's Gray by itself, so there's that. Let's do that. Let's figure out a wash for the bronze. I think petroleum brown is the way. What do we think? Anybody got a vote? I think petrol brown is the way for when doing bronze. That's what I think. So that's what we'll try. Wad! Silent Raven, good morning from Australia. Welcome, welcome. Winter storm friend dumping 1.5 feet of snow in Ohio. Brr. Move to Arizona. We're going to start a hobby commune. We have the best weather. If you can deal with the heat in summer, I think that when you average it out, we have the best weather of anywhere. It's just really hot for part of the year. Well, welcome, everybody. Hope the weekend is treating everybody right. For some of you, it's already Monday, if we have Australians in here. Zilfer, snowed in Ohio. I saw a bunch of, we follow a lot of our retailers, and a lot of our retailers in the Midwest, Northeast, right? And that band, and even in Texas, we have a lot of posts that have come through on my feed today of retailers that are shutting down for the safety of their, their employees and their customers and stuff. So that's always crazy to see. I need more cups. We have tarantulas, Zilfer, here? Not where you live, unless you live out at the foot of the mountains. Yes. Or if you live like right with a desert in your backyard, then yes, you could definitely have tarantulas pay you a visit. Scorpions as well. But knock wood, here in the city, in the place where people live, you don't really have to fight with that. We have friends and stuff that'll be like, oh, well, we killed another scorpion, found it in the bed with us. No thanks. No. Chris is lousy with tarantulas. He had one on his porch, yes. So yes, like I said, Chris lives in the boonies, like legit the boondocks. All right, here we go. Petroleum brown, straight, no chaser, no thinning, just petroleum brown over bronze. Wash it like you mean it. We're going to get it deeply, concerningly washed here. Take our time so we're not splashing paint on everything, though. But we want to make sure we get washed down in the cracks and the crevices of all this detail. The detailing on these models is really nice. It's really crisp. These are the resins. My foot pad keeps moving. Stop that. The sculpts are great because they have tremendous depth to the detail, which makes it easier to paint. Whenever you have soft details on a model, makes it easy to lose where an edge is supposed to start and stop, things like that. These are fantastic. So they don't have that problem. But if you just glop enough paint to get in all the recesses, you're good chance you'll smack it on other parts of the model. So where we can, we'll glom it on, and then we'll take our time where we know it's going to extend into the borders of other things here. But as you can see, I've got a hell of a lot of paint on my brush, right? Big puddles of wash. I want a lot of effect out of this wash. I may just go over the whole model. I don't know. Mid 50s scorched earth. Oh, you moved to Alabama? And Alabama, is that right? AL is Alabama? And you got scorpions in Alabama? We had scorpions in Texas. Of course, we never saw them in the big city, but when we would go camping, they were always a problem. We would go down to a place called Kerrville, Texas, and do camping, and always an issue for us in Kerrville, especially around the campgrounds and the showers, right? Because it's warm and damp in the showers, and you're in, like campground showers. So they're not the best kept places on the planet. And you would go in there and have to spend a few minutes smacking all the scorpions from around the drain so you could get in the shower and take a shower because they'd be congregating around the drain and the shower stall. Nothing scarier either, man. They just all like it's like catching sunbathing snakes, right? It's like, oh, check it out. There's a bunch of big black scorpions. But back then when we were kids, I wasn't afraid to just, get one, trap it, and cut its tail off and tie a string to it and let it be your pet for a day. But there was a couple that went camping, and I don't remember who they were. Friends of my parents, right? Family would go camping as kids, and there was a woman and her husband that were there, and she was pregnant while camping, and they got a cabin because she was pregnant. They got a cabin, and there was a scorpion nest underneath the bed, a net a nest of scorpions underneath the bed. And so the first night when they got in, crawled into bed, the scorpions came up in the bed and they stung her a bunch of times on her stomach. And of course, she was pregnant, so that did not go well. They had to rush her to the hospital. I remember as a kid thinking that was really, really scary. It's still scary talking about it as an adult because you're like, wait a minute, you could climb into bed and there could be like enough mad scorpions around your bed that's what happens. So I'm not a big fan. Not a fan. Would not fare well in scorpion laden confines. Not big on my to do list. Detroit mindset, what's going on? Yeah, right, Scorch? Nightmare fuel. Yeah, exactly. Not bueno. So, yeah, worst thing growing up as a kid we had was cockroaches. Texas big, big cockroaches. Ugh. Not a fan of that either. I have a non rational disgust at cockroaches because of growing up and tell the story about skateboarding and looking up at this area we were skateboarding and the wall was moving. It was dark, middle of the night. We were skating around this parking garage out in Plano, Texas. The wall was kind of moving. Thought it was crickets or something. It was all cockroaches, flying cockroaches swarming on the wall. Like something that for me is pure horror fuel. That's like creep show type stuff. Not a fan. Leave me out of it. In the Pacific Northwest on an island and you don't have anything poisonous. Venomous is the word you're looking for. You probably have poisonous things. You probably don't have venomous things. If you eat it and die, it's poisonous. If it bites you and you die, it's venomous. Did I get that right? I think that's right. That's the way I was always taught. Plants are poisonous. Some frogs, I think, are poisonous, right? There's some animals that also have poisonous defenses and stuff. But bears, moose, and things with fur you can see coming. Whoo boy. Still dangerous though. Nature. Nature being nature. It'll hurt you. Bears are not like in the cartoons. It turns out bears are not like in the cartoons. East Coast had all sorts of bad things, most of them human. Yeah, Mises will love you to pieces. Um, for no fault of the moose, although, you know, moose don't understand traffic, but it was an elk um, in the U.S. Moose are giganormous compared to elk, and elk are huge. So, or can be huge. I was riding my motorcycle in Colorado, flying down a street in Fort Collins, out in the countryside of Fort Collins, going back to my campground before I had moved up there permanently. And there's just an elk sitting there chewing cud in the middle of the street, middle of the night, standing in the street. My janky headlight on my old 1969 Harley didn't pick it up until the last minute. Thank goodness I don't drink. I had not been drinking. And I would have been like as dead gets in that situation. That moose was just standing there, and my motorcycle would not have hurt him at all. It probably would have, but it would have hurt me worse. Moose, caribou, and regular deer common in the front yard when you were young. Moose are huge, Wirehead. I was in Canada on a hockey trip, and our bus stopped, right, in Manitoba on the highway. It's like a 2-lane highway in the country, and traffic was dead stopped. And bus driver gets out to see what it is and comes back in. He goes, "Yeah, it's a moose." There's a moose just standing, bull moose standing in the middle of the road, and they had to wait. I guess there's rules. Well, there's probably smart, intelligent people not wanting to mess with a moose in the middle of the road, but it just stopped traffic in both directions. Thing was like prehistoric size. We didn't really see it up close. It was down road from us, but by the time we got there, it had trudged off into the distance. But they were huge. Oh my god! It literally is like a prehistoric animal. Like I said, elk are big, but moose gave it a total different. Okay, like we had mule deer in Texas. Like we'd go deer hunting, and you could see mule deer, and they're big. They're not that big. Moose is a vehicle killer. I can only imagine. You almost had a deer once, just bolted in front of you. Oh, so you want to know something? Like, here's something crazy. I have been in lots of near deer experience, mostly in New York and Pennsylvania when driving and riding. Knockwood, never hit one, but in Pennsylvania along the freeway, holy deer. There's a time in Pennsylvania going down the 70. Hey, Tim, are you still there? Is it the 78? I never remember the highway numbers anymore. 78, the one that turns into like the canal, but it was mule deer. I grew up in Texas, and mule deer was a thing. Um, Down towards Austin. But there's a time in Pennsylvania where, and I'm sure this happens all over the place, but it was the most noticeable in my life driving along the highways in Pennsylvania in that kind of, autumn to winter changeover where it was legit just deer guts all over the road for like the whole season, where people would hit deer, trucks mainly, semi trucks, and they would just drag deer all over the place. Crazy bad in PA. Yeah, exactly. Crazy. Like you'd just be driving down, there'd just be smears on the highway that where a truck had hit a deer and drug it for a half a mile. There's just the big stain on the freeway from the remains. I like that. That's You can tell the difference, right? If you look at the armor, it's hard. It's the lighting. This is metallics are always tough, right? But if you look at the armor there, the petroleum gave it a really neat shade, and then you can see here without any of the petroleum wash, even there on the arm, it kind of is a little bit more greenish, which I'm really digging. So petroleum brown has a neat greenish yellowish hue to it, which I think works really really well for what we're doing. It's not heavily. It doesn't give too heavy of a shade though, petroleum brown. So the only thing here is that it might not shade it as much as I want. We might have to go back over this with a black or something like that, lightly, and play around with the petroleum back and forth with a darker shade, black or brown. We'll see. I'm loading up the brush, heavy duty here on the shield, a little bit bigger brush too. I want to see a lot of material in there, right? It's the only time ever that you get to paint this way is when doing this or like loading the side of a model up with noosh or something. There's a neat feeling to painting, like a kid in kindergarten with finger paints. Just glomming it on. Barely any water on my brush. Just tons of paint. Go nuts. I don't want it to pool on high surfaces, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that around. What's going on, T. Schmidt? Moose jumped up your animals to respect list when you learned that they can dive up to 20 feet deep in water? Respect the moose. Mises, crazy animals in more ways than one. Definitely respect the moose. Like I said, in Colorado, you got to where you'd respect the elk too, because elk are crazy. The male elk, the bulls, I think they're still called bulls, would be out bucking horns in my front yard. I'd be in the shop or be in my trailer. I had a large 3,000 plus square foot building at the foothills in Colorado up by Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was 8 miles south of Wyoming in Colorado. And out on my front land, you'd hear crack. There's the unmistakable sound of bone hitting bone, is what it is. If you've ever heard it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It makes your molars hurt. It's that kind of a sound. Does that make sense? Like it makes your back teeth rattle when you hear it. It's literally a bone jarring crunch without the break part, right? It's just solid, no give. And like if you were to hear somebody fall like that, you'd know there was a problem. You'd be up and running if you heard that after your kid fell. It's just immediate like clunk, and you'd hear it. You'd wake up to it. They'd be button heads out in the front. There'd be two bulls doing something. It's not fighting; it's dominance, right? It's almost crazy ring to it. Yeah, it's weird. It's hard as a sound to describe if you haven't heard it, but it just has such a finality to it. And they just kind of walk away and go and don't even really shake it off. They just walk away and then do it again, stare at each other and then do it again. Oh, you're still here? Well, here, let's do this again. I can't imagine. Like that would be instant I'm Batman type concussion material for humans. No, moose are a different breed of beast. They're not shaped like deer or something. They're big around like you said, like bison or something, right? But also have just ridiculous strength to them visually. Sharkarino. Metallic paint, Ghost Hunter? I know. They forced me to do it. They forced me to do it. This is not of my own volition. I was held hostage, right? They told me, you know what you're going to do next? You're going to paint with metallic paint. And I said, no, you can't make me. And they did it anyway. Bastages. I need more. I need more wash. The people that walk up to bison, it's because I blame kids' books. I'm just going to say it out loud. I blame children's books. I think most of these people are the kind of people who have to read their children, goodnight stories. And a lot of those goodnight stories are now books that show, oh, the lovely world of animals. And then you go to Yellowstone or wherever and you see a bison, Wyoming. Hell, in Colorado, there was a big bison ranch just north of me before you got into Wyoming. Yeah, you don't walk up to wild animals, it turns out. Not foxes, not any kind. Children's books where they're all nice. Christopher Robin, let me take you to the dentist. Does your tooth hurt? Yes, Mr. Beaver, it does. Christopher Robin was Winnie the Pooh. I know. I know. I know. Plump Crunchy, I wasn't planning on hobbying today. Well, that's why I'm hobbying, because you should hobby every day. I try to hobby every day. I did not hobby at all yesterday. I felt bad. But Jen and I had such a great time at the car show, the Barrett Jackson. And by the time we got home, we were just tired and hungry. And unfortunately, ordered like we stayed in and ordered Pizza Hut pizza. It was not good. So that was a little depressing. It wasn't horrible. It was the kind of not good that you really don't realize how not good it was until you're done. Does that make sense? Anybody else feel that way? You're like, oh, thought it was okay. You wish they weren't so bionic. Yeah, there's a lot of the clockwork stuff going on with city states, which I dig. I think it's a neat take. I'm not really so into the Greco-Roman style, Spartan hoplite vibe. So for me, this kind of gives it a cool factor that um, makes it neat for me. But I can see if you were going for like really just liking the hoplite vibe, that maybe the mechanical sci-fi-ish nature of it doesn't stick for you as much. I think for me though, that's one of the reasons why Conquest tends to be so rad, is because it has this odd vibe of middling sci-fi fantasy. You've got the spires, which are, I don't remember what they call them. What's their real name? Spires is just one of the factions. Weaver Court Spires. What are they called? The I forget. Not the Lost or the Forgotten or whatever, but they are in the game. They get their planet goinked out from under them by some unbelievable interstellar power, and they fly their spaceships to this planet, which is filled with humans and dwarves and things like that. And so they're space aliens, which I that's bitching to me. I'm like, that rules. Twitch does something weird to your keyboard? Really? A guy in Oklahoma tried to touch a bison to impress his girlfriend. What kind of girl was he dating? Where that's how you impress them? That's immediately where my brain goes. It's like, stop dating people that want you to go touch bison. If you can't go run over there and touch that bison, there is no date number two, brother. Some locals recorded the event and posted it to YouTube. You were there? Get away from the wildlife, you idiot. I told on stream the story of the guy I bought my land from in Colorado. Um, was his family owned, I don't know, millions of acres up in that Wyoming Colorado corridor. And so for his whole life, he'd been tending land. And one of the things that he did as a hobby was trap coyote and for their skins. And there's annual licenses to trap coyote and stuff. And he would get one every year. And he sold a bunch of land to the city of Fort Collins up there. So they had a natural preserve or nature preserve up by where I lived. And the road to get to the nature preserve, there was only one road in, one road out, same road. Um, and that road went right by our house. And that was where he trapped coyote. And he had a coyote stuck in a non-kill trap, right? It was just a one of those soft leg traps. And didn't kill the coyote, but the coyote was sitting there pissed off and, you know, yowling as these ladies from one of the Fort Collins, what do you call them? Um, what do they call the clubs? The like typical retirees will join these clubs and they're very community focused and booster. Is it like it's not booster? Is it a booster club? It's like the old lady knitting booster club. came to look at the park one day because they had raised a lot of funds and donated a lot of funds for it. And they see this coyote in a trap, and they wanted to know what was going on because the land was so close to the natural preserve where it's supposed to be, um, kind to all the animals. And they found out it was him doing that, and they bought all the rest of his land. He said that was the most profitable coyote he'd ever seen because like it made the city at the time. The city didn't want to buy all the land; they just wanted a little bit to get the road and the parking lot for the preserve. And then when the old ladies saw the coyote, the poor old coyote trapped, they came back and donated enough and gathered up enough money to buy all his land in that area. So he's like, that damn coyote, very profitable. Rotary Club. Ah, that's it. Rotary Club. Booster Club is a Rotary Club. Double T says coyote or shoot on site where you are. We get them around here every now and then. There's coyote that are in the park near us, which is like a golf club and local park, which is right downtown Phoenix. But there'll be coyote every now and then. I don't know if they live in the park or what, but people will say they've seen them. If foxes that people catch on their, ring cams and their backyard cams and stuff. So the neighborhood around here will alert the rest of the neighborhood. Keep your dogs inside. My next door neighbor sent me a text once saying, "Bring the little one in. There's a coyote walking or there's a fox walking around the walls in the neighborhood." Seems crazy when you're, right in the middle of the city, but we are surrounded by countryside on all sides all the time. Even here in the nation's fifth largest city, I think we are. Okay, sure. You play golf, and of course it regularly has them. Yeah. Sadly, a lot of the coyotes around here have become used to seeing people and lose cats and dogs. Oh yeah, loose cats and dogs disappear. Yeah, same here. That's a good way to have your pet not be your pet any longer in anything but memory because of coyotes. There's an owl too, and the owl around our neighborhood is big enough to take a small dog like Poppy probably. And owls are very predatory, so they're really cool animals, but they're not to joke with. They will take your cat. Again, children's books and movies make owls seem all quaint. This guy's got a lot of nooks and crannies for this wash. I feel like it's taken a lot more wash on this one than the other guy. But that color is perfect with the wash on there. Why is it not focusing? Great horned owls and bald eagles on your island? Ah, we had a bald eagle um, in Colorado out by my land. It family of them nested at a lake that was a runoff lake for the power plant. So you had this whole protected area there. There was also big hawks um, and a is it a golden eagle? This is where you'll find I'm not the guy to be asking these questions. Um, is it a golden? They're not bald eagles, right? They don't have like the white head, but they're still big, huge freaking raptors. There was a family of those too. And that, I think, is the bird that I saw take my neighbor's dog in Colorado. It was I say neighbor, in that area when you have everybody's got a minimum of 40 acres. Your neighbors are a pretty good ways away. But was outside one day, and all of a sudden this you see the bird up in the air stalking, making circles. You see the little white yip dog running around the yard. These city people's house, city folk who had bought a house in the country just to be close to the mountains and have the view. And by God, if that bird didn't come swooping down, grab that dog, pull it up in the sky, drop it, and then come swooping down and steal it again. Craziness. Golden? Okay, yeah, golden. Birds aren't real. She wishes they weren't. She does not like birds. Although she took a picture of I think a duck the other day out by the park. She went walking through that same park with the coyotes here close to the house. And she's on a take a picture a day deal this year for her New Year's resolution kind of thing. She's been doing a really good job posting these cool pictures that she takes. And she took a picture of a duck, and I think she posted it on her Instagram or on her stories or something, where she was like, "It's about the only bird that I can not, or that I can deal with." And it was like a duck, but she still took the long way to her car. I think that was a funny thing. She was like, "Yep, I might like them, but I'm still not going close to it." So she was took the long way, even though her car was like directly across from where she was taking the photo. She walked like the long way around to avoid the bird sitting in the middle of the sidewalk. She does not like birds. Cobra chickens, Canada goose, cobra chicken. Geese can be huge, man. They leave people-sized poops on the sidewalk too. In Pennsylvania, that was a big problem at the company I worked for, Lutron, for a while. Um, at Lutron Electronics campus in Coopersburg, PA, the goose poops got out of control. Holy. Yeah, they're mean too. They had a lake on the campus, and the geese would, of course, come and stop at the lake and wash and water themselves and poop all over the place. And they're monstrosities, man. They're big. They're angry. They'd run after you. I don't know that they would actually come up to you, maybe, but they would chase you. And they were so used to people running the other direction that I don't think it mattered. But I don't know if they would actually have come up to you and confronted you or anything. But you'd see people in the parking lot running away from them all the time. Silly goose. It's hard to remember to get all the areas here because there's so much diving in and out of visibility in this guy with the bronze the way we painted it. I just want to make sure I get a good coat on everything. It feels pretty good. Very wet. Yeah, it feels pretty good. See our other guy. You put so much on the shield, it's still wet. You can see it. Bald eagle nuggets, gross. Majority of our nastiest predators are also delicious. Snakes. Snake can be delicious. Dove nuggets wrapped in bacon. Well, you put bacon on it, so that's like cheating. Everything's delicious if you put enough bacon on it. I'm trying to get an idea if this is enough of a shade, and I don't feel like it is. But what do I want to do? Do I want to do brown over the top of this? I don't know. It looks good back here, but that's because my shading was already pretty good on the back of the shield. Rattlesnake. That's what I was meaning. Rattlesnake's delicious. It's not as gamey as I would have thought it was. But as a kid, when I had it for the first time, I don't know that I knew what gamey even meant. But as an adult, my fear with various animals and eating them is how gamey they wind up being when you get into like wild boar sausage and things like that. Because that's why I don't like turkey, right? Turkey is gamey compared to chicken. Doesn't sit well. Don't like that taste. Alligator. I know I've had alligator in something. Alligator etouffee, I want to say, down in New Orleans. Amen to bacon. A goose honk is one of your favorite sounds. You could just sit and listen to geese all day. They have a weird variation in pitch, right? He's been following some bald eagles along a river here. Oh, nice. They're attacked from across the parking lot too. 100%, Brent. Yeah, 100%. They poop in your pool in the fall and they're massive. It's like people turds. Goose are like people turds, or they can be. Canadians are nice because your wildlife isn't. It's like Aussie polite because everything's trying to kill you all the time. Store bought meat was a very small amount of the meat we ate when I was young. So we would hunt deer, and if we got a deer that season, you knew that it was venison everything. Everything. Venison chili, venison in your spaghetti sauce, venison enchiladas, venison. And you don't really understand until you've been a hunter or around hunters or seen, farm, seen a cow slaughtered, and seen the amount of meat you get from an animal, how much you get. Right? It's hard to understand how bored of meat you can get if you get like a quarter cow. Right? We at my area up in Colorado did a cow, and the guys were like, "Hey, you want to go and you want a 16th?" And I was like, "You look around. Do I have a family? Do I have anybody else with me? What am I going to do with that much meat?" I said, "I will take some ground beef and some steaks, like some sirloins. I don't need anything else." And I got more than I could imagine at like a small portion of that cow. Holy, it was insanity. And these other guys had like, freezers full of them, but they all had families and lots of people that would come out. Me alone in Colorado was not going to eat enough beef to need to buy into a cow. Salt cod, venison, and duck and geese were the daily. Salt cod, saltwater cod. Is that what you mean? Is there freshwater cod? I guess it is with the headwaters meat, right? Nothing like a quarter cow to fill the chest freezer for your dried salt cod. So that's how you preserve it, is you pack it in salt. Is that what you're talking about? Atlantic cod, but you put it in salt, Wirehead, to preserve it? Oh, okay. That would be tasty. I call that salt fish, and I like salt fish. There's some places where you can go get like salt fish fried rice from like the Thai or the Chinese place. It's very good. If you've never had fish fried rice, try it. Try it. The butcher shops here that we give a deep freezer if you buy a quarter or two. Oh, really? They'll just give you the freezer? You mean you'd have to have it, right? A whole cow? What the? You are kidding me, Wasted. They unplug the freezer? Can you imagine having a whole cow defrost? Like, how big was your freezer? Number one, like a whole cow is enormous. Like the freezer had to be like a walk-in. Like it's enormous amounts of meat with the packing and everything. Holy, that's insanity. But losing it is even worse. 100%. Not good. I can't imagine. All right, what do we got here? Is this guy drying any faster? This guy ladled it on really heavy too. They look a little bit different because of the way that the armor is shaped as well. But that coloring is really good. You can see now the bronze pops really far off the gold on this guy. This guy doesn't have. Oh, he has a little bit of gold on the sword hilt and the brooch or whatever it's called on his drape, his cape. So it makes the bronze stand out from the gold a lot more now. So I kind of want to darken it up even more. Like I said, but brown, just brown wash? Question mark? Or do I do black? Brown gray, maybe? I feel like the brown or the black. The black desaturates too much. So maybe the brown gray is the right way to go. Let's try that. Flesh wash could be it too, but it's going to make it warmer than it already is. And that's, I don't think, what I want. But flesh wash darkens really nicely if you don't thin it. So there's a world where we could do flesh wash. But like I said, it makes it too red. So I don't think it's the right answer. We'll do brown gray. Brown gray is a nice dark shade that still has enough warmth to it, even though it doesn't feel like it. That it should shade perfectly for us. Petroleum's what we just did, Jade. You like that red? That red's just the base of Pyro Red. We'll keep working it up with Pyro and Orange Red. I don't even think I really did it. I don't think I did anything else underneath it. I think I just put Pyro Red on it for some reason, just to get a base coat. The whole model's just base coats. It was just showing you how you can go really fast and put good color on a model. We used a little bit of the special sauce, which looks like it's layered, deeper than just one color, of course. But we probably got to do the other guy first, even though his shield isn't 100% dry. The rest of his stuff is more dry. So let's, here's the question. How much should I'm just going to try this. We're just going to try it not thinned at all and just put it on here and see what we think. I think that's the answer, right? I want the bronze to be very dark on these guys. I don't want it to have a lot of golden brightness to it, if that makes sense. That way, the little gold bits will really stand out and allow us a lot of leeway with how we highlight stuff. Again, whenever dealing with metallics, I'm very conscious of how bright I can keep it before having the contrast overtake everything else on the model. And so you don't want to knock it down too far or you lose all your metallic. But we know we're still going to highlight these back up. But yeah, that's just right out of the gates. That's much better. That's going to be really good. So that's the kicker. I don't know if the petroleum is going to make a difference under this, so it maybe have been a waste. That'll be the trick with the next models that I paint, is just going over the dark bronze just with this and see if I get a similar look or if I'm going to have to do it. Sometimes when you're painting a test model, you do two things that you feel like one's a waste, but then when you don't do it on the next model, you're like, oh, but the color that I get in the end is a blend of these two washes, so I may have to just stick with it anyway. The new special sauce medium should be the ultimate medium to make washes. No, it'll be the ultimate medium to make um, speed paints, right? The glaze wash medium can sort of turn your paints into speed paint type paints, but they will never have the amount of tint strength to them that they will with the special sauce medium. The special sauce medium allows paints to just flow better, but doesn't move the pigment just into the low spots like the glaze wash medium does. The glaze wash medium is built to turn things into washes. There's a definite reason why all of these different mediums exist. The glaze wash medium, to be able to turn your paint into a speed or contrast style paint, was a kind of it can make your paints look like this, but they never were 100%, right? They're always going to be a little too translucent when you get them to flow the way you want for just painting, kind of haphazardly over the surface of the model to get a really good finish. Whereas the special sauce, on the other hand, is built for that. So it's meant to flow like a wash, but leave color everywhere it touches. That's the difference between contrast style paints and washes, is that contrast style paints leave their pigment everywhere, right? And rely on the lack of opacity to allow the white to show through differently than the black, but you'll get just as much pigment in the high spots, right? All over the model, and then just a slight buildup in the low spots for the shadows. And that is why they're so special, or, part of why they're so special. So if you want heavy staining, lots of color, then the special sauce is what you want. If what you're looking for is most of your color to wind up in the recesses, like what we're doing right now, right, on metallics, then you use the glaze wash medium. And once you have it in your hand, you'll see, because you'll be surprised at how intense the color coverage is with the special sauce. Now, if you dilute the paint enough, then you lose the intensity, right? Because you wind up with the opacity being stripped out to a level that it can basically look like it's doing more of the work of a wash and less of the work of a speed paint. But that's the same if you were to just take, GW contrast paint right now and dilute the crap out of it, you'll turn it into a wash technically. It's like saying that if you dilute paint enough, they all become the same. And there's a little bit of truth to that, because you will run out of uniqueness as you keep diluting the paint more and more and more and more and more. It'll all eventually just start looking like, and working like barely colored water. So you got to be a little careful with that. Source, what's the workup on the cloth? It's just the zenithal highlight and then dark sea Ben in the special sauce medium. That's it. It's just one coat of dark sea Ben mixed with a special sauce medium over zenithal. And it gives us a really good highlight. It's very smooth. I haven't done another thing to it at all. Right? So there's no blotchiness, no irregularity of coloring. Still allows the purple shadow that I did with everything to show through a bit. Yeah, it's great. It's like a miracle. How well this stuff does with just your regular opaque colors, I think, is going to really blow everybody away and open them up for lots of really cool stuff. And then we'll continue to add, pre-mixed colors to the lineup. But again, I don't have to do too much because the medium itself is just so good at blending with the regular line. That's always something we do when we try to develop new paints, is make sure that, it's not so unique that it can't be mixed with colors you already own. That way I don't have to sell you every color again. And part of that is pragmatic, and honestly so. I don't want you to have to buy 9 million colors to have the color you want to do the task at hand. The other side is completely laziness, right? We don't want to make more colors. We don't feel like there's a need for us to make 8 million colors. Some people love it, but I don't see it. Boy, that's good. That's the way it needed to be. Holy, that's just too good. Remember that, gang. Brown gray over dark bronze. Now we did do bronze as a highlight on here first. Remember, I always say that to get the most out of your washes, make sure you do at least one level of highlight before you do the wash. Even if it's not a super contrast highlight like what we did here is very low contrast. Bronze over dark bronze, not going to give you a ton of contrast. But when you put the wash on, it really makes it come alive. You'll see more differentiation between where you put the bronze and the dark bronze once you do put the wash over the top. And our washes are matte, so they're going to reduce the shine a little bit on the armor, but not horribly. You can see the shine on the shield versus the shine on the chest has gone down though, right? Because the brown gray is the second layer of wash we've done. And again, I'm going pretty intense. So you see, I'm not diluting. I don't have much water on my brush. So I'm just taking the wash right out of the bottle and letting it do its work. Eyeballing other paint ranges lately because I hate to mix. I like it when it comes in ready-made triads source. Yeah, I get it. Laziness is a thing, man. Nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of ranges out there rely on that, right? They rely on you being more willing to reach for another color, and that's fine. We just obviously we have a lot we have to consider. We do a lot different manufacturing. We do a lot different quality control than other brands, and so for us to manage that many colors is very difficult. Um, we are always trying to constantly better our process so that we can release more colors. And that's one of the things that allows us to release the special sauce is that these things that we've done over the last few years to better our process, better our efficiency, everything from just raw manual production all the way through to Q&A by our fulfillment associates and the rest of the team allows us to bring on more paint. It's never easy. We got way more ideas than we can actually bring to market, because each new idea causes the business more, what do you call it? What's the way to say it? Not more focus. It costs you focus points. Is that the way we want to say this? Like RPG style? You only have so much energy within your business because it's people. And so, how much can people do? Well, they can do X, and then when you add more, now they can do less of the things they did before. So, we are always trying to grow as best as possible, but we have to be sensitive to making sure we don't offer or lose anything in the processes we're already doing as we extend into new stuff. Like, I can't release special sauce until we're pretty sure that everything else we do is running at 100%, right? Because people would be really bummed out if for some reason Procurl stopped being in stock because we released a new product. So you always got to be conscious of that. Conscientious manufacturing. Yeah, this gives me that neat kind of, I don't want to say oily because I don't know there'd be any reason why we'd have a lot of oily nature, but kind of a smoky metal out of this. It's going to give me some variation on darkness that'll bring texture onto the surface a bit. I like it. The shield would be an absolute pain in the butt to drag around with you. Big solid chunk of metal. Can you imagine? Come here, boy. Carry the shield. You would have to have a, they don't call them squires for these guys, but you'd have to have somebody. You would have to have an assistant whose main job was to carry this damn thing. And then you just hold it like this guy's holding it for photo ops. To impress your friends at the event. All right. That guy's good. Look at the difference. Is it going to show for us? Yes. Yes, mucho better. I like that a lot. It's knocking that golden style edge off of the bronze, take away more of the yellowishness. Chris could hold the shield. He wouldn't do it. He'd say, I won't do it. I shan't. That would be what Chris would say. I shan't. Chris only seems like he has infinite energy. You worry he'll burn out for real if he's not careful. He is the guy who will overwork himself because he loves the work. No matter what it is, whether it's his, army building, helping a friend move. Chris is that guy. He just loves it. It's his energy is found in the association of doing the task as best you can, and you gotta love him for it. He does a great job. But you are correct. He will absolutely murder himself in the what's the running towards the goal and the achieving of it. That's one of those where, you know, you learn as you get older the importance of organizational skills, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm going to put everything on a calendar. And if I follow this calendar, then everything will get done right. And then sticking to the calendar becomes the big thing. You worry less about whether or not the thing is getting done and more about am I doing completing everything on my calendar today? And if you can get to that point and get good at it, then you run yourself a little less ragged. Project management, the bane of man's existence, I think. Oh, this is just too good. I'm gonna have to test it again and see, like, because now my brain is on. Yeah, okay, this with the brown gray is perfect, but is it because we put the other wash on there first? I feel like it probably is, which makes this two-step process not as glorious as I wish it was, because now it's three-step process. But it looks so good. Color question that guy, Joe. I'm trying to do skin on a larger figure. I think I may have started down a longer road than necessary. Your initial thought was dark purple, Bugman's glow, bright shadow flash, dark warm flash, including half steps. It seems like a lot. The bright shadow flash is going to be brighter than dark warm flash, though, isn't it? I feel like maybe not. They're going to be very similar in value, so the color you're getting from them is the reason to do that. They are different colors, so it may be that that's what you're seeing is the benefit is that you're getting that extra punch of kind of a peachiness out of one that you don't get out of the other, more yellow. But that would be the only reason to do those. So if you're asking me like how is it too much in the process and you're, you know, feel like you're wasting time or using colors that don't really matter, I always look at brightness as the first answer to that question. Do any of my colors share a brightness level? Are any of my colors that same value, we say, right? If they are, there's a good chance you could remove one out of the equation and still be super happy, unless, like I was talking about, unless that color has an actual hue in it that is bringing, a particular flavor to the model that you like a lot. So dark purple Bugman's Glow seems good. Bright Shadow Flesh, dark warm flesh, including half step seems like a lot. Yeah, I think you could probably go dark purple Bugman's Glow, dark warm flesh, and do the half steps and be okay. Of course, you know me. I don't use Citadel paint, so I don't have Bugman's Glow sitting in front of me. But I feel like it's light enough that you could get away with doing the half steps with a very bright color, like dark warm flesh, and get a really nice mid-tone and highlight. The dark warm flesh is fairly yellow though, so that might be why you wanted the bright shadow flesh in there for the peachish reddishness to it. And in that case, choose that one because they'll both the Bugman's Glow. I think it has enough yellowishness to it, right? So you might be able to just use it to get your warmth and not have to use the dark warm flesh at all. And and then just do the half steps with the bright shadow flesh and Bugman's Glow. That might be the better way as I'm saying it out loud to myself. Of course, I don't know what you're going for, right? So take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you're doing it and you feel like it's a lot more work than the effort is turning out, then cut one of those two bright colors and see how you like it on a test area. And then play with which of the bright colors should be the one you cut, based on the coloring you're left with. And you should be able to get to that decision making point pretty quick, I would think. Chris, any recommendations on how to get started on non-metallic metal weapons specifically? Well, it's the same um, concept for non-metallic metal, no matter what you're painting, right? Your focus needs to be on the shape and reflective quality of what you're painting, and then placement of those initial value sketch highlights is really what gets you there. Unfortunately, I'm not painting any non-metallic right now, or I would show you. Um, but it really is getting all of the shapes and reflections right at the start because you just build from wherever you put those reflections on the model. Um, and you can get a really good idea of that with that. We always talk about taking an initial photo of the model, the area um, in particular, if you can, if you're just doing a weapon, then take a picture of it. And believe it or not, a lot of times taking a picture before you put any paint, no primer, nothing, just raw plastic or resin or whatever you got, um, and take a photo, then that photo is going to show you where the reflection happens. And I say leave it in plastic first because the plastic is shiny. The plastic is going to have a material reflection that is going to be very similar to if it were made out of metal. Not the same necessarily because the plastic won't have the same grain to it that metal does, um, but very similar. Similar enough to where you take the photo of the model when it's in raw plastic and it's going to be more shiny than if you prime it, obviously. Even if you use you could use like a gloss primer, I guess, and then you could pick up a ton of shine. But anyway, take a picture of it. Note where the shine is on the piece in question, and then paint to that, right? And when I say where the shine is, position your camera or your light source wherever you would expect your light to be coming from in the model that you're painting, right? And to do that, it's really just set up. In most cases, we talk about doing 10 and 2. It's the easiest way to do it. If you're picking just a general light source for your model, if you're doing something very specific for drama, then you already have an idea. But, position a light somewhere in your photo setup when you take the photo of where that light would be coming from, over the shoulder, right in front, top down, whatever you come up with, and take that photo and then reference that photo. That photo will show you where your brightest reflections go, because it'll be where the light from the camera lens or bounces right back to the camera lens and give you a big, bright, nearly white spot in the photo. And that's where you want to place that first shine, and then start working from there. You know, we talk around here about making sure that you study your shapes. Go on Google, grab images that you throw in a folder that are, metal cone, rod, cylinder, sphere, cube, pyramid, right? And keep those images in a folder on your computer and reference them often to look at how light works on those individual shapes. And then start tuning your brain to remember that I haven't done the helmet yet, have I? I don't think so. Start tuning your brain to the fact that everything you paint is one of those shapes. Every part of the model is a culmination of all of those shapes together. Does that make sense? So that as you paint, you look at, oh, I painted this thing, but I didn't paint the rest of the helmet. That's what happened. The plume got painted, but not this. This helmet is a sphere for the dome of his head, right? That then goes down into something more akin to a cylinder around the face here, right? And then a kind of a cone or pyramid shape at the mouth for the breather that's there. And so you're always trying to mentally break down the model into the shapes you're painting. Some of them are like, there's a flat side of a cube here, or just a flat plane, and then there's a curve that would be a slice, like this upper angle would be a slice of a sphere. This dome here in the middle is kind of spherical. And so you start looking at it and breaking it into those constituent parts, and then pick your bright areas. That's the best way to start looking at your models. It takes a little bit of the creative process out of it, I would say. That may not be fair to say. You're still being creative, but it makes it to where you're looking at your models in a more mathematical sense, which is tough for some people, right? Some people are like, I'm just painting a hoplite. This is just a dude, and it's not like you want to go through all the, what's a sphere? What's a rod? What's a cone? What's a rectangle? What's what here? You may not have your brain tuned to that. But if you can get your eye tuned to seeing those shapes by making the correlation to the pictures you save, you'll be much better off. Because everything we paint is just a combo. It's a Frankenstein of all those shapes, all those geometric shapes that we've learned in our life, whether you like it or not. Whether you were good at geometry or not, you know what all those shapes are. Everything on the planet is just a bunch of those shapes jammed together in different ways. And so if you can see it that way, then you'll always know how those shapes tend to highlight. You'll learn that, the big ones are like a cylinder highlights down the length of the cylinder pretty much no matter what. It never highlights across the cylinder. So you'll never put a bright line across a cylindrical shape. You'll always do like a vertical stripe on cylindrical shapes. And then spheres operate totally differently. So you just start looking at things like that. And you'll start looking at things in the real world differently when you start thinking this way. We talk about color and how different things relate as the sun bounces off of them, the light bounces off of them. And so you'll start looking at things out in the world at like cars and, the way light bounces off of a particular color versus another, or a different material versus another. and those things will start registering different. You'll be the nerdiest guy at the table because you'll say to your significant other when you're out to dinner, going, "Hey, look at the way the light comes down off of that that piece of fabric over there." Small wooden human figure model for artists is a fantastic tool for light and shape highlighting. Maybe. I would say usually not, because those maquettes or those mannequins don't have good anatomy. They have some, and yes, they'll give you the general scope of what's going on, but you almost get into a problematic situation because they're naked, and you're very rarely painting like that. But they do give you, I guess, the general shape of the forearm or a leg, all the cylinders. Humans are generally spheres and cylinders. You can draw most of the human feature, other than maybe the face, with just spheres and cylinders, like legit all of it. Maybe the foot, right? The foot has a pyramid to it, or a cone, however you want to look at it. So you can draw like 90% of the human shape with just spheres and cylinders. So you take pictures of cups and dishes at dinner for a flight. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, exactly. T. Schmidt, your friends are like, "What are you doing, nerd?" It's an intimidating mountain to climb. You really want to do the purple non-metallic metal for the Dark Star weapons and some 40K stuff. Yeah, it's really. I wish I had more here. I'm here at my home studio and not at the office, so there's not. I don't have models I can just grab, which is the problem. Um, and most of the models that I'm painting here are all going to use metallics. Isn't that weird, chat? I just had that's the weirdest thing to hit me. It's like somebody said, I have the Dwegom, which we're doing these guys with metallics. We're doing these guys with the bronze and the gold, work up on all the metals for them. And the only other things I have here are the 100 Kingdoms, right? And the 100 Kingdoms, we're doing all metallics on all of that too. Holy. It's because I have a bajillion armies for conquest, and so only a couple of them will get non-metallic metal, and the ones that are not here. They're at the studio at the shop. Rip. So what I would say for non-metallic metal is come join us tomorrow on the show. I'll be streaming tomorrow. And Chris and I, if you can remember to bring it up in chat, Chris and I'll show you. I've got a ton of examples at the office because I choose non-metallic metal 90% of the time in my painting. It's what I do. But when I'm painting lots of armies, I will default to going back to more metallics, just because they give me the ability to cover a lot more area fast. But you see, I knock a lot of them. As I show you the shield that is blinding still, I knock a lot of the metallic off of it, and make it down to just colors, and then highlight it back up. But because I just don't like a whole lot of shine from the lights in the room. It bothers me. Rattlecan says, "When are you coming back with your wearable merch?" We've been talking about it a lot. It'll be soon-ish. Soon-ish. Devin says, "Give me 15 reasons to hold the shield." I'll do it in song. Doodly-doot-doot-doot. Or what does he say? Doot-doot-doot-doot-doot. We got to have a little Chrisism. But weapons, too, if you're doing non-metallic metal, weapons are a lot of flat planes generally, but the sword might have a peak, like a pyramid. Like a lot of GW swords they're fat in the middle, so they give that angle to the edge. Otherwise, swords would be almost impossible to make in 3D, right? So they typically fatten them up in the middle to give them strength. So you've got an angle that goes towards the edge, so that becomes kind of a pyramidal. It's like a pyramid, right? And so you look at flat facets. So when you're doing a sword, generally only one edge is very bright and the other edge is going to be much darker. You'll see people that do non-metallic metal and they do like this alternating pattern of bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, like a checkerboard. I would stay away from that. It's a really neat way to do it and get used to it early, but it teaches you incorrectly. The facets of a gem, one facet will hit the light almost directly, and that'll be nearly white or whatever color your light is. The next closest angle to your light will be brighter, and then as the angles start facing further away from your light, then they get darker and darker and darker. And so that's the thing you remember with reflective painting. Reflective surface painting is what I call it, and non-metallic metal is a thing inside that. Is it just make sure that in your brain you can keep your light in the same spot when looking at the model. These models are bad examples of that because I haven't painted them with any light source. Right? They're just kind of like coming from over here, top down, but there's nothing specific because I'm using metallic paint. So you kind of lose your light source when you make metallic paints part of the deal. So I try to not bring, if I were to bring a sharp light this way and like the red gets really bright over here, but dark over here, and the greens get really bright over here, but dark over here, the metallic is tougher to do that with. I can do it, but it takes as much time to do that as it does to do non-metallic metal. So I'm not painting these guys that way. But if you can remember, like, hey, my light comes from here, let's say, then just every time you look at your model, you have to tune your brain to say, my light comes from this direction. So if this sword edge were being painted in non-metallic metal, right, the light is coming from this direction. So let's look at that sword edge. If I can put something dark behind it, maybe this matte, because it's got the white paint of the base behind it, which makes this lesson harder to do. But like this, right? So see that right there? See that sword blade? The brightest edges are the two that face the light source directly, which is that little bit up here at the top on the fat part, but then the sword angles away. And so it's bright and then not so bright. And then the other one is, depending on how you hold it, the inside edge. It has a bevel on the inside edge. So this brightness down here on that line, right? So you have like three facets that it's hitting. This one it angles away, and then that line in the middle of the sword. And the rest of it's dark. Don't be afraid to paint the rest of it really dark and just highlight those three things on this sword. So if I take the sword back and I go, okay, well, it has a lot more areas when you look at it, because you'll completely rotate the model as you're painting it. And that becomes problematic for people when they start thinking about where to put the shine, because it's like, oh, it's shiny on this side too. I mean, metallic paint isn't helping, but the light on your desk will make the bottom light up. We don't want to care about that. You just want to do bright, not so bright, and a little bit of bright on this line here, and then paint the rest of it dark. That's where you start. Then you blend that brightness into your darkness, and ta-da, Bob's your uncle. I love saying that. I don't know what it means, but there you go. You need to kick Chris up the butt. Wait, what? To do this non-metallic metal tutorial? Yeah, he wants to. I think he's a little in his feels about it, right? He doesn't want to mess up, which he won't. I won't allow it. Spatsnat says, every time I shake an open bottle, I end up with wearable merch. Well, why would you shake an open bottle? You would not shake the ketchup with the lid open, so why do you do it with your paint? You silly, silly, silly person. Panic Bomb. We do all of our pressing in-house right now, but we do off of transfers, right? And we have a transfer press and stuff that we do internally because we don't like stocking a million sizes of things. But Gabe is on that and is figuring out what to do for the next generation of all of our merch. It allows us to come up with cool ideas, a lot quicker when we don't have to worry about it as much on our end for sizes. Because if I release a new design, like, we don't really have to put it on anything. We just show you the design, and if people buy it, great, we'll put it on blank shirts. If they don't, well, we'll throw it in the garbage. Yeah, screen printing. White is the color of the Patriots away jersey, who are AFC champions, says Imborgs. Wait a minute. Did they win? Was that today? That was a big thing if they won, wasn't it? Because they won away, and that beats the Dallas record. I only know enough about football nowadays of what my feed shows me, because friends of mine are still big into it. Plumpy Crunchy says you got a chance to use the primers and use dark neutral gray. It's good, right? It's good, and it cleans up fast. Stan says, you kind of remember you very nearly ruining your frameable doing the same open bottle shake. I didn't say it never happens. I just get to shame people when they do it. I'm very lucky, knock wood. I have one shirt that has a little bit of yellow going over the shoulder. We had at our convention booth stuff, we had a tablecloth that went on our guest painting station tablecloth, a wooden rack that held all the paints for the guest painters, and the big, I want to say poster, the big banner that was next to the guest painters portion of the painters booth, because a particular Aaron Lovejoy shook titanium white when it was wide open and threw a big old long line of paint across the whole booth. And it got on everything. Everything. So yeah, we know the pain. Make all the shirts 4X. You just buy 4Xs. You either sleep in it or you wear it outside if you're big enough. Can you do advanced flesh tone under beige red? Yeah, sure. Sure. Beige red is about the same value, is the only problem. So, you wind up fighting a little bit there, but you can use the beige red to kind of desaturate the model. You might glaze one or the other over and back and forth, but they can work together. Mix them. Aaron Lovejoy. He also airbrushes at like 80 million psi. He's insane. Great painter. Good friend. What's good to go under what? Ogre? A monument painting bib. Yeah. And a face shield, it sounds like, to keep you from throwing paint in your face. Right? All right, who do we do first? Did we do this guy first or this guy? I think we did this guy first, didn't we? Yeah, we did this guy first. No, we did. I don't know. Which guy did we do first? This guy? I feel like it's this guy because this guy's all dry. What color to go under beige red? Let me grab it. Beige red. Dark flesh is extremely good under beige red with a mixed in between, right? And so burnt umber under beige red works really well. So you could go like dark flesh, burnt umber, beige red is great, right? A little bit of yellowishness from the burnt umber. And then the pink and the red from these two really keeps it good. But there's no reason why, like I said, why you can't use advanced flesh tone. Right? That's pretty good. Yeah, those work really well. I still think if you're using a wash, then those work great. If you're not using a wash and just layering, you still need a darker base for it. And so either dark flesh or dark umber, black brown, depending on how dark you want the skin to be, would be good. But if you're using a wash, these two colors actually work very well together. Are you not entertained? I do have a little dry brush. Could I dry brush the armor maybe? Womp womp. Let's try it real quick. My mom still hasn't gotten in contact with me, so I don't know when she's going to be here. As soon as I get contact from her, we will have to end. Because she will get here. We'll get her loaded in, and then we'll probably go to dinner. Delish. I think bright gold. Nah, let's keep it in the bright bronze world. Light bronze. Light bronze. For those of you who may have never used our paints, they're sealed for your protection. So you have to make sure that you take the seal off before painting. It's rare nowadays since our paint has been out for so long, but we still occasionally have a person. It's like, the paint doesn't come out of the bottle. Did I get a defect? We're like, did you take the seal off? Chris is here in more than just spirit. I've only used bronze, dark bronze, and bronze on this model, and then a bunch of washes. Well, gold on the gold bits, but all of the other armor bits are all bronze. He knows. He was here when we started this. He goes, might I say you're using a touch of bronze? And I said, no, I'm using a little bit. I won't give him the pleasure. I won't give it freely, chat. That's not how we work here. That probably ought to go back over here. Huh? Just put it back where it goes, Jason. It makes life easier. Magnesium with a copper dry brush. I can bet that's amazing. I don't use copper very much. I need to use it much more. It's one of those colors where it goes out of sight, out of mind for a while. All of my copper that I do would be non-metallic metal in general. And then when I paint metallics, I rarely think I use a lot of copper. It's not a color that jumps to mind as much. I need to change that. It's just a personal thing. I don't think I have. No, I don't. Oh, I do. Someplace I do. I have a full dry brush set. Oh yes. Oh, oh yes. These are the ones that I never know how well they even show up. Right, doing this kind of stuff on stream. It's like, is the camera even gonna see this? This would look better at the studio for sure. Chris keeps arguing with me. He loves this camera, and I hate this camera that's here for the models. It's too sharp. Sony's are just too sharp. I would never suggest using a Sony camera for miniature painting. It's too sharp. It cuts out all the soft detailing we do with our blending. It just doesn't pick it up right. That is Butamus. Oh, there you can catch it. Right there you see. And there you see. That works really well. I am fan. Wirehead, you have to say it. I've made it a little bit not as simple as it should have been by playing with the washes as I'm figuring it out. It'll be interesting to see if we can't go back and make it work just with the gray brown or the brown gray wash instead of the petroleum. But I think the petroleum is going to be integral to it, to be honest with you, because the coloration, not the shading, but I think just the general coloration will make it to where the petroleum is necessary on it. I like that. Give me more of that. Very nice. That when you're dry brushing this last color on metallics, you're really trying to look at where your highlights would be, and that's it. So you're not doing the whole thing, even though you might want to bring out more detailing. You're trying to keep it limited to areas that are just where highlights would be. It's one of the big issues with dry brushing is that it can start bringing details and punching details in to the point where you want to use it everywhere, and you have to be careful to not overdo it because you'll lose it. When you're doing a bright color like this. Of course, you'll lose your value set up on the model. So I don't want to do too much. even though it will pull out some really cool details. Until we're on the side of the model that's all lit up anyway, and then you can go ham. And we'll come back over this with the paintbrush in particular areas. Yikes, don't do that. With the light bronze too, because that'll be more intense when we do it with the brush than anything the dry brush will do for us, typically. Now, you can load your dry brush to the point to where a normal paintbrush would pale in comparison, but typically as you're dry brushing, it's giving you a much more of a almost diluted sense of color. I think for bronze, I really, really like that. I'm very happy with that color. Much dirtier. Not as gold. Allows our gold to stand out a lot more, which is nice. I'm thinking flesh wash on the gold, to be honest with you. Let's try a little bit of that. Well, we still got a little bit of time. We still got to do the silver. So we're going to do Payne's Gray on the silver. So let's do that real quick. Let's do the Payne's Gray on the silver. And then that goes there. Where's Payne's Gray? Payne's Gray. Already being used. These little graduated cups are the best in the world, so make sure you have that's gonna be basically perfect. I just got to be careful here because I have a tendency once I've been washing, I won't say erratically, but very liberally with the other colors. I have a tendency to do the same thing, and this one needs to be a little more precise. But that little hint of blue from the Payne's Gray wash is going to shade this silver great and also bring a nice tone onto the model with the blue. Given that we went so brown with the bronzes. Again, I'm not using thinner. We're going straight after it. We're really darkening this model up after doing such bright base coats. If you can see how dark that's letting the metal become. I mean, you can see the silver. This is just steel. This isn't the bright silver or our brighter silver, which is just called silver. This is steel that I'm using, or that I have used to base all of the silver bits. See, darkens it up nicely, and we won't have to do a whole lot to that after it dries, which was my goal. Laziness is my goal on these, but still being able to get a decent paint job. Because this army's really cool. Not gonna lie. All of these conquest armies are cool. I wish I had the infinite lifetimes to spend doing them all to Blood Angels army quality. That's just not a possibility for me. War Masters Forge, you get the answer? Yeah, they're city states. This is a polemark. These are two commanders, two leader figures that you do. In Conquest, you pick an amount of leaders, and each leader gives you access to a different array of troops, and you fill out a war band, so to speak. I don't remember what they call it. Maybe they call it a war band. But each leader gets a war band, and so it's fun in that regard because you're not just picking a Space Marine captain and going and playing Space Marines. You're picking a lot of leaders that are building your army in different ways because not all leaders have access to all units in the army, which is quite nice. I love it when now you have a kind of thematic list that you put together that are based around your leaders, and some of the leaders are like monsters, which is cool. The city states, one of the commander models is one of the giants, and the if you pick him as a leader in his battle group or whatever you call it, you can take nothing but giants. So you could take 3 giants. That's a huge amount of your points, but it gives you some really cool list building variation rather than just every list has access to everything unless it's a some special narrative list. Here, if you want access to certain things, you're forced to take a particular leader, which may make it play a certain way. So some people find that limiting. I find it refreshing because it means that I can play the game in a lot of different ways with the same army because it's really just buy all the leaders and then put them together in neat ways. Some of the factions you can't put some of the leaders with other leaders, they don't get along. So that's kind of neat. Again, some people might argue it's limiting, but I really dig it. But anyway, this is a Polemark. Polemark? Polemark? This is a Polemark. And we're also doing an Aristarch or Aristarch. This guy's all clockwork, mechanical. The other guy's all flesh and bones. Payne's Gray, the wash of champions. If you enjoy putting wash on models, but black doesn't cut it all the time, Payne's Gray is your best friend. Oh, yeah. That little smidge of bluish steel is going to pop right along all that brownish bronze. You can already see it like down along the arm. We get that nice hue contrast. It's not really contrast. It's contrasting by terminology, not contrast like we talk about bright and dark. It didn't brighten or it darkened the steel up, but that bluishness, that tone gives it just a neat departure from like the brown all around it. Whereas the silver, the steel itself is just neutral. So it's going to be less standout as you darken it with just a black because it goes into grays. Grays aren't the most noticeable colors on the planet, you know, when up next to other colors that have more visual force, would be a term I would use there. You can imagine grays next to reds. The red obviously takes center stage. So you use grays when you're trying to push the eye towards whatever other colors are in the composition. This is going to make a lot more of the model come together in neat ways. Got a little bit of steel on his spinal column down here. Blue steel. Too easy. We'll do it on the sword too, but I'm going to use a little bit of water on my brush for the sword. I don't want it to be as dark, right? I'm not trying to create tons of uh, detail this way. So I will water this down, which will create a lot of flow, but it'll change the tone of the sword dramatically, which will be neat. But it'll let a lot more of the steel be front and center on it too. There we go. Why don't you jump up on the chair, little girl? You can be on TV. Don't you woof at me. She hasn't wanted to be on doggo cam today. She's come in here and like run around my feet, but never jumped up on the chair. Usually she'd jump up on the chair, either her or Poppy. Not today. Got a little dark right in there. I guess I could kind of use the center of the blade here and do it darker, right? Yeah, like that. It did pretty well on the back side. It just kind of got clogged here on the front side. It's a lot of metal. The blue's the right choice. The Payne's gray is a good one. Vedguda. Denver lost. I have zero interest in the Super Bowl. Was that the Patriots game? No, it was the Denver game. Oh, I get it. I don't have a horse in that race. I never care. When the Super Bowl comes around, it's like, I guess it could be fun to watch. It's not that I don't like sports. I grew up playing sports. I just have lost interest in mass broadcast sports over the years. The commercialism of it really just killed it for me. You know, that in football for the longest time, and I haven't watched in a long time, so this could all be different now. Don't kill the messenger. Um, the fact that you would get like, you know, maybe one set of downs before you get commercial break all the time, it was just annoying to me. It's like you get late in the game, you get one play commercial, one play commercial, one play commercial. I'm like, God, help me, Lord. What is going on? Take the time to do the wash and just as a normal paint here almost on these edges because I can't flood this edge. It'll get over things that are different colors. That's really the only silver. Oh, he's got some on his neck, doesn't he? That's going to be harder. Oops. Probably should have done that first, huh? Oops. I just have to poke it in there and hope I get lucky. Flood the brush and hope it goes where I want it. Oh God, don't hit the sides and make the nose blight up. Oh boy, this is rough. I just want to get a fat loaded brush in there and just kind of poke it around and hope it flows into the crevices like I want it. Oh yeah, that didn't work too bad. Get that chisel tip right under that chin. Get a little bit on the bronze. It's going to happen regardless of what I do here. I have to go back over that. Well, I'm going to highlight the bronze again anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That actually worked. Now it's the freaking Patriots again. Well, they haven't been in it for a while, have they? I don't pay attention to football, man. At least it's not Tom Brady, right? Please tell me it's not Tom Brady. They bring him back from the dead. They necromancer Tom Brady back into relevance at the Super Bowl now. Your Leafs fans, the idea of championships and playoffs and stuff are alien to you. I mean, not really. It's just the ability to make good on them is alien to you. But the Leafs always get close-ish, don't they? Maybe not recently. Yeah, not so much silver on this guy, but that still looks good. This whole army will go really quick once I get this nailed down, but I think I'm pretty close. This guy still has this drape in front that is not painted. This thing down here because I don't know what color it's supposed to be, and I don't have the special sauce here at the house, so I'm probably gonna do it the same as the deep sea bin special sauce stuff everywhere. So there we go. I think we did pretty good today. But he's an announcer. The Leafs are the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. They used to be good, and somehow people still care. Kyle, our sales director, is a big Cowboys fan. And so he has all these cowboys. They're like bobbleheads, right? He has all these cowboy bobbleheads. I don't. They have a name. I don't remember what they are. He has like all these guys, and it has like Tom Landry and stuff like that, Troy Aikman and all that kind of stuff. But it's, as an Eagles fan, this hurts you emotionally. He's now interested in real football now, the one that actually uses your feet. Isn't it crazy how American rules football is called football and you really only do two things with your feet other than run? You know, is it called football because you have to run so much? If you didn't have feet, you can't play, kind of a thing. I'm not sure. I'm stoked with where these guys are. That was a good little run to get some paint on them, and then it really is going to be just highlighting up the cloak, doing the red on the plume because that just is base coat still, and then dialing in the flesh a little bit, and then some brush highlights on the metals. But overall, pretty good. Not mad at that. For I say lightning fast. I don't know. They call it lightning fast. Hand egg or gridiron, Jason. Hand egg. If you have eggs that look like a football, you're doing it wrong. Just going to say that now. Oh, Tom Brady bought shares of Birmingham. Oh, there you go. The Broncos don't have a horse in that game either. Oh, but don't. As a Washington fan, all this is hurting you as well. You're a Red Wings fan? Oh, I think you guys are doing really good right this minute, aren't you? Avian, tell what to the English? Hand egg? Their eggs don't look like that either. Eggs look like eggs all over the planet, by the way. Some of them are more round, like spherical, but none of them look like a football. Gillenborn, when is that season finale? What, the Stanley Cup? April ish, right? You were expecting abuse, not an actual logical answer to the use of feet. I'm not going to abuse you about sports, man. Growing up, I was the kid that was like, why do they call it football? They never use their feet. And why is it called soccer? Like, why do we call it soccer? I never actually looked that up, so I don't know why the U.S. calls it soccer. Does anybody know? Your 9-year-old son didn't understand that you do not go to the playoffs every year. Our life experiences when it comes to football are completely different. We did have a blast, awkwardish, at Barrett Jacks. It was tons of fun. We had a jumbo corn dog. We saw the sign that said juicy burgers and corn dogs, jumbo corn dogs. And so we were hungry, and so we went. We don't drink, so the whole thing is lost on us for all the people that go there just for I don't know, $12 beers. They charge you out the wazoo. But the corn dog was like a $40 corn dog. I think we paid $45 for a corn dog, French fry, one corn dog, one thing of French fries, and 2 waters was like $45. So it's absurd. But the corn dog was literally like, I don't know, 2 feet long. It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, seeing the nonsense cars. And it was funny because as the day went on, we got there not really early, but fairly like 11 a.m. or something like that, maybe noonish. And the cars that were coming through were going for, I mean, they were still going for over 100 grand a car. I don't think we saw a single car go for less than 100 grand. And they were coming through, and some older classics came through, and then it was a bunch of Corvettes and the late 50s, early 60s Corvettes were the fleets of split windows and stuff that were amazing. I love those cars, but they were going for like 200 grand. One of them hit like 300 grand. Then as the day got longer, all the Scottsdale people started showing up, right? And the crowd changed and the money went up. And by the time we left, they were selling cars for nearly $3 million. It was insane. Now, the quality of cars was going up too, so they know what they're doing at the auction. They put the cars through when they know they're going to have the crowd. But it was insane to watch all that. I'd never seen all that. I'd never gone to a car auction before. There wasn't. I mean, I've gone to car auctions, but it's like the ones out in the cold parking lot where you're dealing with insurance auctions. It's like I'll give you $500 for that Honda. Is the kind of auctions I've been to. not ones where it's like you don't have time to raise your hand before the car's going for 200 grand. It's called soccer because Gillenborn. Because what? Soccer is what it was originally called as a slang abbreviation for association football in Great Britain to separate it from rugby football. Oh, soccer came from Great Britain. They just now call it football, and rugby they call rugby, right? You have to drink a few $12 beers before you'd want to pay 45 bucks for a corn dog. Well, they don't put the dollars on the sign of how much a corn dog costs. You just go up there and say, "Give me a corn dog and some fries and 2 waters," and it was like $44. I can't even lie about it. It's like, what? Soccer just stuck in the U.S. One of the coaches from France had a last name that, when spoken with Boston accent, sounded like soccer. Boston student went to France, loved the game, introduced it to Harvard, and that name stuck. Oh, Gillenborn. I like your story better than Awkwardish's. But knowing history, Awkwardish's is probably right. That it was slang in Britain. They called it soccer. It's being called football is supposedly from the fact it's a sport played on foot as opposed to on horseback like polo. Yeah, that's what I said, is that I think football came from being because you run so much. I have looked that one up, but it's been a bajillion years ago. But I still love somewhat civils. Like, my 9-year-old son doesn't understand. You don't just get to go to the playoffs. It's like, why aren't we in the playoffs, Dad? Well, son, it's because they suck this year. Well, and nowadays it's even different because I know in youth sports, a lot of times everybody makes the playoffs and you do a round robin in the playoffs with all the teams now, right? It might just be because of the short seasons they run for kids stuff. Otherwise, you'd only play like 5 or 6 games and then your season would be over. As a Cowboys fan, you're used to missing the. Don't you go and lose in the first game all the time? I thought that's the way the Cowboys worked. I mean, they've really tried with the pros too. That like what only like 6 teams don't make it, right? Or 8 teams. There aren't that many teams that don't make it anymore, are there? You went to a concert at the hockey arena down in Philly and spent $20 on a tall boy beer. Oh my god. Yeah, somewhat. That's hard, right? Because you just, yeah, especially when you're learning to love your team and your team doesn't make it, you feel put out. It's like, that sucks. As a kid, I mean, I was born and raised in Dallas, right? So you were a Dallas Cowboys fan. You had to be. Although I was a New England Patriots fan, and I didn't even know why, because they had I want to say they had a quarterback whose name was Brian Sipe. Is this stick? Is that true? Brian Sipe? And I liked Brian Sipe. I don't know why. As a kid, I went out and got a new, when I had the choice of picking a football thing at the we played in you know Pee Wee League football, and everybody just had to go get stuff. And at the Oshman Sporting Goods store, I remember picking the one that was based on the New England's colors. It was red and blue and white, and I picked that one. Brian Sipe. Sipe played for Cleveland. Well, then that's not who I'm thinking of. You don't need him to dominate; just be better. Didn't they get close one year though? Oh, college is just dumb, dude. You can't convince me that there's any need for like college playoffs the way they have it right now. It just seems dumb. I'm not smart enough to have a really in-depth conversation about it, but just what I looked at this year, I'm like, yeah, that's dumb, dude. Like, that's really, really stupid the way they do it. The Broncos got a large influx of fans from an anime horse gotcha game. You got to be kidding me. It's, yeah, just a naked money grab, dude. It's literally like, you got to be kidding me. It's so dumb. So dumb. There's a bowl for everyone. You have a bowl, and you have a bowl. All right, gang. I think I'm done. I got done what I wanted to get done today. I'll drag these back to the office with me this week at some point, maybe tomorrow, and knock them out, get them done, do the basing. Actually have some finished city states models. We got to do the Inquisitors. I think I wanted to start on the Inquisitors, although Chris built the tree brutes for the Weaver courts, which are really bitching too. So we've got some really cool stuff to do. We've got so many models, man. Every time we build new models, it's like, I want to paint those. So we'll do it. You guys should give you PTSD. Your team has been into the playoffs twice in almost 30-something years. They don't have to get there, man. They don't have to get there. You can just watch and be a fan. It is better when your team wins, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. It's better when your team wins. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I do have the power now to go check the. We can see if there's somebody that we can raid, or all the other nerds watching football. Is that a thing? That's probably not a thing, right? I feel like in the miniature painting world, we don't really have to worry a whole lot about everybody off watching football. Hold, please. Hold, please. Who do we got here? If I go to FO following Spark Minis, Monster Den's on. Let's go pay Monster Den a little bit of a visit. See what he's working on. How about that? So we will raid over to Monster Den Minis once I figure out how to make all this happen. Right? I have to have like way too many windows open here. That's the problem. Pause that. Do this. But everybody, thank you. These streams are a lot of fun for me, so I hope you guys enjoy them as well. The after-hour streams, I know they aren't as responsive because I don't have a producer here, so I know I don't get to get to all of the question. But I hope that you had fun on a Sunday. Get to jump into the middle of your weekend and ruin everything. But thanks so much for joining in. Make sure if you have not been here before, go ahead and hit the follow or the subscribe button. We stream to Twitch, YouTube, and Kick simultaneously, generally 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here from, well, I say here. I'm not in Monument HQ. From Monument HQ, that other place, Narnia. And we'd love to see you back on the regular. Make sure to join our Discord. I think I can do Discord, right? Can I do Discord? Is it an exclamation point still? If I do this, can people join the Discord? I don't know how to operate this crap. Yeah, look at that. Join the Discord. Ta-da! Brent's got it before I did. Thank you so much, everybody. But have a wonderful rest of your weekend or beginning of your week, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow. Stick around. I'm going to raid. I'm going to do this raid thing. So show some love in the chat we wind up in, and we'll catch you back here later. If I can hit the enter key. Is that the enter key? Ba-bam! Oh, invalid username. I am an idiot. Seriously? No, I didn't. That's his name. That's literally the name I typed. Did I not? Hang on. Hold, please. Okay, there we go. I got it right this time. I got it right this time. Or did I? Did I? I did. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you later. Adios.